Hi everyone, delonewolf here. Welcome back to the Sunday recap, my weekly vlog where I talk a little bit about my last week in games. As always, we'll start with some EVE Online, and I've played around an average amount of EVE Online, I would say, especially with the new event, the new agency event called Dawn of Liberation. I've been playing that a decent amount. I grabbed my Dominix because I think that for the main loot pinata, the battleship, you do want something with a decent amount of DPS, and I would rather have a Tick 1 battleship that can handle everything pretty passively while I travel to from objective to objective, then have like a healer or something like that may be a little bit faster, but that will take more time basically to take out that battleship. And if you're unlucky, you trigger 2 spawns at the same time, you might actually risk a cruiser as well. So I like the event myself. I'm running it in a pretty inefficient way from the agency points point of view, so I definitely don't have the 600 or 800 points that you need for the final reward just yet. But what I do like is that I can take my time and I can basically try to completely clear every single site. It's basically 2 ways of playing this agency event, which I personally like. You can either really focus on speed, try to grab as many of these slaves as you can, and then you can often by just running one site complete the second site with the extra slaves that you have, and so you can earn those points very quickly. And if you want to get through to the final agency reward, you can do so very quickly, very efficiently. The way I'm running it is the exact opposite. I take my time in every site, but the goal is to trigger all the spawns so that I can get that battleship, which potentially gets you skins, a skill point booster, and things like that. So that's how I've been running this event. Next to that, I also did a little bit of exploration, not too much, but I'm still enjoying flying around in the Explore Trust, trying to find some good sites. It's been going a little bit worse than in the previous weeks, perhaps because of the new event. You've got more people flying around, and maybe if it's a little bit too busy in some of these event sites, people do grab some probes, take a look at what's around, and take more of these good combat sites away from me. So yeah, the exploration phase there has not been very rewarding, but I have definitely been having a lot of fun running the event sites in my Dominix. Next to that, of course, just the typical stuff: run my PI, run my blueprint copy business, do some sales on that, and yeah, a couple of trips to and from Jita. Next up, we have the World of Warcraft, and I haven't played a lot of World of Warcraft again, just mostly focusing on my emissaries, trying to earn some extra gold. One thing that I did do is I finished the Mage Tower for what I would consider to be my main class and spec, the Elemental Shaman. It still took me like 5 tries, despite the fact that I have like this completely unlocked artifact weapon. But yeah, trying to kill Maghda, not always that easy, and it took me a couple of tries. My tactic has basically been focus on Maghda herself and ignore most of the ads that she spawns until you can grab a Stormkeeper, AoE everything down, and of course from time to time you have to take out the healers as well that that try to heal up Maghda. But that was basically my focus. You do so much DPS if you have to delay all of that by trying to focus too much on the mechanics. It basically becomes much harder to finish that, while you can just blast through everything with enough DPS. So that's the tactic that I chose. I think it was 5 or 6 tries, so a couple of deaths there, but at this point, right before the pre-patch, the Mage Tower is of course unlocked 24 hours a day. You can still try all of those challenges, which, well, you can only do so for 2 more days, because then we will have the pre-patch, and that is something that I am looking forward to. The pre-patch will of course bring the stats squish, it will bring the new talents, it will bring war mode, and I think several scenarios as well, where basically the Horde and the Alliance are going to start to go back to war after defeating the threat from World of Warcraft Legion. So yeah, it is the first few steps towards the battle for Azeroth. From what I've heard, it's also the shortest pre-patch that we'll have before an expansion ever, only 4 weeks. So that is quite interesting. It also means, of course, only 1 more month until the expansion. So my plan for that is to actively play a decent amount in the pre-patch, explore my shaman. I think both elemental and restoration. I think I'll want to try to get to grips with both of those builds a little bit. Maybe run some battlegrounds to try and get a good feel of what the class is like after all of these changes. Run the scenarios, try to give you guys a little bit of the story of the pre-patch in videos in the upcoming weeks. So there's definitely going to be a little bit of focus time-wise from me at least on World of Warcraft and the pre-patch. I'm really curious to see what all of that is going to give. And as I've always said, I did get started in Legion, but my main focus, my horizon has always been the expansion, the Battle for Azeroth. That's where I plan to be a little bit more serious in my playtime for World of Warcraft. Try to run some dungeons, we'll see what we do together with Phobo, Daegarn and a couple of other guys to see what we can manage for the World of Warcraft and the Battle for Azeroth. Which brings me to my final game, and that's Stellaris. So I have played really a large amount of Stellaris, I must say. I finished this series with the Omni Confluence. So those guys are a machine race that are super focused on research, and it's been quite an amazing experience. I find it to be a pretty interesting story as well once the Fallen Empires start to come into play. But that series is done, and I'm now planning basically to upload that and to schedule it, which is going to be a little bit different from the way I normally do this. So you guys probably know that those series usually come out one video a week. I think I'm going to try to bring them out at least 2 videos a week, maybe even more, so that the story that I've just experienced myself and created in those videos comes out a little bit in a more condensed package, so that you guys can experience basically what I've been doing in the last couple of weeks a little bit more closely. I think it's something different for the channel that I do want to try for 2 reasons. You know, I could put those out 1 video a week. I still have, for instance, an entire StarCraft 2 series that I haven't uploaded yet. I still have videos from Skyrim that are ready as well, so I could definitely do it. But sometimes I basically lose touch with comments that are posted on videos that have just been released, but it's been like 2 months since I've actually made that video. And so what I'm going to try to do is to focus a little bit more on a single block of content that I'm playing at the moment, and trying to bring content and bring uploads for that in a more intensive way, depending on what I'm doing. So I just finished Stellaris. It's going to be quite a bit of Stellaris content coming then in the upcoming weeks. Next up, we'll have the pre-patch for World of Warcraft, which I'm really curious about, and I'm going to try to play intensively, and we'll see what kind of content we can get out of there. After that, you know, still a month before the expansion, I do think I'll find a little bit of time for some intense EVE Online as well. I have less than a week to go until I get Marauder 5, so I do look forward to buying a Golem, taking a look at that ship, seeing what it can do in some level 4 missions. I think I'll actually go back to Iona, to Galente space for that, because we don't have any good agents around Dital. The one weak point of Dital is if you like to run missions, that's not a good place for it. And after that, of course, mid-August we'll have the World of Warcraft expansion, where I am planning to you know, go, well, I wouldn't say hardcore, but definitely a little bit more hardcore than the way I've been playing World of Warcraft before the expansion. That's been my horizon, my focus, and that is really what we are going to see what we can enjoy from that expansion, see what we can bring from that expansion. So yeah, Stellaris, definitely a pretty fun game as well. In fact, I have also been playing a second game of Stellaris, just basically as my stopgap between finishing the series and the pre-patch, and that has been with another machine exterminator race. So you guys have seen that already, but this time I'm going super aggressive. I'm just killing everything as quickly as possible, and you know, that's been going surprisingly well as well. Quite fun. Maybe I'll get like 1 video out of that or something like that, but I don't really plan on doing that. It's basically me just enjoying Stellaris. It's such a fun game, and the experience with that with the Omni Confluence, with that research-based race, really made me think, well, let's take another look at these exterminators, and I think that's basically the strongest way to play. If you want that assured victory, you can basically go for that dominance victory very quickly, very efficiently with the exterminators at the moment. So yeah, machine exterminators, my favorite way to play, because you can like build up crazily, focus on the economy, you know, focus on your defense a little bit at first, and just build up your armies and start to flood everything else. And that's been going surprisingly well as well. So Stellaris, absolutely very, very fun game, and a bit of content coming out for that in the upcoming weeks. That's it for this week, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.